for a limited time, $1 gets you full access to all the automotive industry news and content CBTnews.com has to offer. CBT News. Subscribe today. This is the Power Lunch on CBT News.
Recall and warranty work are areas of opportunity for dealerships, but ultimately it's up to the consumers to bring the vehicle in the door. On today's show, we're focusing on recalls. We're pleased to be joined by Juan Flores, who's the Senior Director of Product Management at Kelley Blue Book. Juan is responsible for furthering design and implementation of the Service Advisor product, dealer ratings, and Autotrader Private Seller. And in the studio, we've got with us Mr. Mike Boyd, who's a Senior Director of Commercial Strategy for Acquisition, Reconditioning, and Merchandising for vAuto. Mike's also the founder of vAuto's iRecon. So thank you, gentlemen, for joining me in the studio today.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, that's great. So Juan, let me start with you. Can you give us a quick overview of why customers don't come in for recalls? This is something that has astonished me even when I was managing dealerships. We couldn't get people in for their recalls.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons is that the OEM or the dealership has actually lost touch with the vehicle owner. So one of the reasons that customers don't actually come into the dealership is just they've just lost touch. They've moved on, or the OEM has also doesn't necessarily have that customer's information. I would say that that's the primary reason, and I think that's where Kelley Blue Book comes into play and becomes the connection point, given our brand and given our trusted history.
Yeah, for sure. There's no question. How can we make recalls easier and get more customers in for that essential service? I'll start with you, Juan.
It's a great question, right? And as I mentioned, it might have been on a different interview. When Kelley Blue Book first launched this ownership content and experience, we really were thinking about driving service content, education, pricing transparency, and we put out a recall CTA, a recall button that allows a user to enter their VIN, and it just went bonkers. It just went haywire. This last month we had over 500,000 customers enter a 17-digit VIN in a shortened month. And it's just unreal to think about that. There's that many customers that are in need of recall information. I think that doubles down on the hypothesis that the dealerships have lost touch with that vehicle owner of 7-8 years old, and the OEM as well.
Yeah, for sure. Do you want to add to that, Mike?
What a wonderful opportunity to re-engage. When Juan first told me those numbers, my mind just exploded. I could not believe that many people on their own were going and entering in their 17-digit VIN number.
Yeah.
And it's just a great opportunity in this market where we're all struggling for inventory.
That's right.
And we're struggling to find better and more informative ways to reach out to our customers and keep them, to now re-engage and then offer them a remedy for something that affects them.
Yeah, there's no question. That number is very, very impressive. There's no question about it. We know that recall work connects to customer work, and both can help dealerships and service departments when it comes to building a pipeline, increase revenue opportunities and retention. Tell me more about how those connections work together and influence each other.
Well, when you think about the pipeline, of course, you have the service pipeline, right? You want these value-added engagements as a wonderful way to re-engage with that customer, because customers are more than ever likely to cross-shop, to shift to a different maker model. So they're out there, and these are your customers.
Yeah.
So we have to find better ways to service that customer and bring them in for something that adds worth. Now, 500,000 recalls, what is it about? I think 25% of those, or roughly 100,000+ of them, are safety recalls.
Wow.
So imagine reaching out to that customer as a way to re-engage or engage them for the first time and bring them in for a service that they need to have done.
Absolutely.
It just opens up a lot of avenues for touch points and additional revenue opportunities.
Yeah, there's no question about it. Do you want to add to that, Juan?
Well, it's a great point, right, Mike? And the other point is that the customer, the vehicle owner, needs to take the vehicle back to the franchise dealership to get that recall work completed. And I think that that's just a great way for the customer to come to Kelley Blue Book, capture their information, and then for us to then redirect that customer over to the dealership. But and the reason being is that, hey, Mr. Customer, that's where you need to go to get your warranty work completed, right? And I think explaining that, educating the customer on that I think it's a win-win for Kelley Blue Book and more importantly for the dealership.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Well, it's a name they trust. So they went to Kelley Blue Book for a reason. So they start off in a good place.
Right.
They're looking it up and they know that it's not manufactured. This is real information. It's something they need to take care of.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we connect them with our dealer partners to get that done. So when you're looking at a market that's changing, inventory that's getting harder and harder to acquire, and then, of course, you look at that lifetime value, it's a great opportunity for the dealer to jump in and look at it for the real opportunity it is,
Right.
which is to engage with them,
Mhm.
offer them a solution, bring them in, and build that trust factor back up.
Yeah.
Because that's why they start to defect.
Yeah, there's no question about it. That increased loyalty and retention are even more impactful these days while inventory is still, fluctuating, right?
Oh, absolutely. So right now, like I was saying, they will move and cross shop more than ever. They are very sensitive to time.
Mhm.
So reaching out to them around the recall, using that as a wonderful physical touch point to actually engage with them around their vehicle. And some very interesting statistics are that 47% of the consumers who come in are more likely to do the repair rather than trade in their car.
Yeah.
So if you bring them in for this value-added engagement, take care of the recall, even if you offer up a honest, this is how your car is, this is condition, this is what it's going to take,
Right.
rather than trading in, they're coming in more apt to spend more money in your service facility.
Right.
So you're offering a value, you're providing them a goods, and you're giving them options.
Yeah.
It's a win-win.
Yeah, no question. Did you want to add to that, Juan?
I think the more progressive dealers, Jim and Mike, are taking advantage of loyalty opportunities, but they're also bundling that experience with price transparency. As stated, at this point, with the amount of rampant information that's available to shoppers, they expect pricing transparency also in the service lane, not only when they're shopping for a new car, used car, or trade-in, right? Whether they're using ICO or Autotrader or Kelley Blue Book on the front end, they also are expecting pricing transparency on the back end. And I think this is where it further allows the dealership to differentiate themselves from the competitors by saying, hey, listen, I'm listening to what you're saying. Let me go ahead and let me assist you and tell you what is OEM recommended, what is dealer recommended, and the reason why, right? That's how you then start establishing a relationship built on trust.
Right, right. That third-party credibility means everything, right?
Absolutely. And that's the important part. You have to have a plan in place. So when you're bringing this customer in, and this may be the first time you've ever engaged with them.
Sure.
So give them an honest assessment. So of course, do the recall work. And you should do right by them. You have the car there, inspect it, offer up what it's going to take to keep that car on the road.
Sure.
I would say that it's a wonderful opportunity to talk to them about possibly trading in, but not over pushing. So first you have to build that trust.
Right.
Offer them something that has value, be of service. Then when that opportunity comes up, and it may not be today, but you are building that opportunity down the road.
Yeah, of course, of course. And, so it sounds like there's really the potential to shift perspectives here, right, Juan?
I mean, we've been in the auto industry for such a long time, and loyalty only goes so long, right? No disrespect to my dealer friends. I have a lot of dealer friends on my digital Rolodex, but they're gonna be friendly with you, Mr. Dealer. But at some point, that love is gonna wane. That love is gonna be lost, and they're going to go down to an independent shop, or they're gonna go down to the competitor,
Right.
Because they have a certain expectation.
That's right.
You treated them so nicely on the purchase process, and you've now integrated digital tools, and you're even willing to take the vehicle over to them, et cetera. They're expecting that same level of service, all through the experience. And so here's a chance for you to remind them, you could change the perspective, but remind them why it's so great to come and visit that dealership, because we have ASE certified mechanics that are so familiar with your vehicle. And yeah, you might go down to Bob's Auto Shop, and the reason that might be a little bit less expensive, well, they're not using OEM certified parts. That's when you start doing the service walk and start explaining, yeah, this might be another $30 for you at the dealership, but there's a reason why. Let me explain this to you why.
Sure.
So that's the opportunity to change the perspective and remind the customer why you started coming to our dealership in the first place.
Yeah, Yeah, there's no question about it. If we could just get that one thing taken care of with customers, it changes everything, right?
It's all about value.
Yeah.
Adding value.
That's right.
The price is a one-time thing.
Yeah.
So when you're asking that consumer, your consumer, to come back, you need to show value. This is what you're getting for what you're paying. Because really, that's more of what they're concerned with.
Yeah.
Is that lifetime value, and what are they getting in relation to the money they're going to give you?
Not to mention a certified technician working on their, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 vehicle. I mean, the average price of a new car is almost $50,000 now. So do you really want to be bringing that someplace where you don't have a factory trained technician working on that vehicle, whether it's an oil change or otherwise, right?
Yeah. And that's an interesting point. When you think about, I think you told me that the average age of a vehicle coming in for these recalls is a 7 to 8 year old vehicle. Now think about it. What dealership does not want more opportunities to talk to clients driving 7 to 8 year old vehicles? That's a 2015 to 2016 vehicle. That's prime merchandise.
Prime merchandise. That's what we want.
But remember, you got to work a plan. You can't just bring them in saying, hey, I'm going to hit them over top of the head and really go after the trade. And of course, you want to talk to them.
Sure.
But again, go into it with the right mindset.
Yep.
Be of service. Create that value-added engagement.
Yeah, for sure.
Then when that opportunity surfaces, excellent. You're already there, and it just makes sense, and you can make it make sense to them.
That's right.
And one of the best practices, looking at where the market is at right now, is that dealers understand that they need to start looking at their service lane as an acquisition point.
Yeah, it's true.
Not like before, when service would call when somebody has a really high bill.
Yep.
But they need to actively be involved.
Totally agree.
Understand their clients, where their cars are at, and what they're trying to accomplish with their vehicles. But you should expect 3 to 5%, if not more. I actually think that's a low number of the inventory you want to acquire to come out of your service lane.
It's totally plausible.
And they're coming to you, paying you to do work. It's the best opportunity you can make.
That's right. And these kinds of things and these programs help to take down that wall that typically exists
that is built up,
variable ops and fixed ops, right? And it's crazy. That wall definitely needs to go away. And to your point, it does need to be viewed as an acquisition point. There's no question, right?
Right.
Yeah, no question.
But you have to go with a plan in the right way.
You do. You do. There's no question. Juan, what's if there's a top takeaway that you want a dealer or service manager to walk away with from our conversation today, what would it be?
I think it's just a reminder that at year 5, 75% of your customers have defected, and they defected because they think that an independent shop is less expensive. Right. And so. And I get it, right? A dealership's going to say, well, Juan, I'm doing great. The last couple of years were just it was fantastic. It was bonkers. My service wait line is 4 weeks out. And so the idea is, I get it, but build the pipeline. So to answer your question is, just because your customers are defecting doesn't mean that you can't re-engage and reconnect with them. The average RO that we're driving through Kelley Blue Book is approximately $400. That's accompanied with some customer pay. And so that turns into either an initial pipeline or a pipeline in the next several years, depending on how the dealership wants to manage. So that would be the takeaway: is reconnect with these customers. Allow Kelley Blue Book and Cox Automotive to do what they do best, and that is take our audience and take them off of our site and send them over to you, the dealership.
It sounds like a no-brainer to me. I mean, I'm looking for what's the loophole here, but there isn't one. I mean, it's just that simple. And you're exactly right. There's dealers out there, especially over the last 3 years, that have really done very well. And they're like, well, don't even worry about that. But that's changing. There's the lots are filling back up again. Gross profits are coming down, as we see already in the variable ops side, and it's going to be all about service and keeping those customers. And as you know, today's service customer is tomorrow's sale, right, in the showroom. So it means so much. I'll give you the last word on that. What would you like the takeaway to be?
So it's time to get back with our ground game, to get back into the old way of actually being of service. I mean, when you bring these customers in for the recall, that of course creates a lot of opportunities.
Sure.
You are getting paid to do the recall.
Right. But
it's a great way to re-engage. So that's one. Also, I believe 60+% of them are purchasing another service while they're in there getting that recall done. So it's not just that initial, but then you also have that re-engagement, and it's a value-added engagement. So you're actually bringing value to the table.
That's right.
Plus, you're opening up the door for down the road for acquisition.
Yeah.
That is very important today because we have lost sight, because of the last couple of years and the way things have been, of how important it is to reach out to those clients rather than just every once in a while with a birthday or a postcard.
That's right.
This is something they need to take care of. This is something that we are uniquely positioned to help them with.
Yeah, no question about it. And Cox Automotive has made it so simple. I mean, it's a click away, right? And
Absolutely.
That's all it is. It's dealers that are listening. This is something you need to focus on because, as we know, as I mentioned earlier, the lots are filling back up again. We are going to start to see grosses coming down. We already have in many cases in many markets around the country. And the service department, once again, is going to be front and center, not just for the service of the vehicle and that gross profit, but also, to Mike's point, as an acquisition point for great pre-owned vehicles. So Juan Flores and Mike Boyd, Cox Automotive, thank you so much for joining me on the show today. I very much appreciate it. Love to do a follow-up with you to see how things are moving along.
Thank you very much.
Great, thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for watching the Power Lunch on CBT News. Delivering the news dealers count on for 10 years. Subscribe today and join thousands of other automotive professionals. CBT News, 10 years strong.